bustling University Avenue corridor in St. Paul, Minnesota is a mystery for many. Most people don't see past the vandalized, vacated buildings and the diverse array of ethnic and local businesses that line the future home of the light rail. But don't be deceived. There's more to the area than meets the eye. A unique multicultural community lies to the north of Lexington and University Avenues. We tried to capture some of the voices and sounds of Frogtown.
Frogtown is a wonderful neighborhood. It's extremely diverse. It's probably ethnically the most diverse neighborhood in St. Paul. It's low income. It's high crime. It's got a lot of different kinds of people doing their best to live together. And we love it here.
Yeah, that's right.
That was Patricia Omens and her partner Tony Schmitz, longtime Frogtown residents who have a green dream for their neighborhood.
We've lived here for a total of 30 years in 2 different houses in Frogtown, so we know the neighborhood pretty well. I have a background in public health. Tony ran the neighborhood newspaper for nearly a decade, and this is a neighborhood that does need green space. We have more kids and less green space than any neighborhood in the city.
Jen and Ryan Horton moved to Frogtown 2 years ago with their 3 small children, Ben, Olivia, and Charlie. In the short span of their time in the neighborhood, they've been drawn into the gardening milieu.
We've been here for 2 years, and both the years we've had a garden in the backyard. Last year I put in a raised garden bed, and we planted mostly in that. This year we expanded a little bit. We planted a bunch of stuff we'd never eaten before. Kohlrabi, eggplant. I'd actually had eggplant once before, but not a lot. So eggplant. What else? Beets. Fennel. 3 different kinds of squash. A pumpkin.
Watermelon, cantaloupe, Brussels sprouts.
Yep, Brussels sprouts. So quite a variety of stuff. It's just nice to get out and be dirty and get your hands into the dirt. It's something I've always enjoyed. I have something invested into the soil that I'm living on.
Are there any green spaces in Frogtown?
Yeah. We usually try to well, if we do, we will actually leave the area. Como or Minnehaha Falls, my kids like to go there. What else?
The lack of an accessible public green space combined with the negative effects of the recession and the growing presence of young families like the Hortons in Frogtown got Patricia and Tony thinking. Alongside their friends and neighbors Seitu Jones and Soini Guyton, they decided to take matters into their own hands.
Frogtown Gardens is an organization that was created to advance an idea. And the idea is a project that we're working on called Frogtown Farms, which is a public park in our neighborhood, which is low on green space. The park would include recreation space, a nature sanctuary, and a demonstration site for urban farming or urban gardening. We're hoping that it'll be a community center where people can go to learn some of the traditional arts of, maybe quilting or pandal, the Hmong storytelling cloth, or, agricultural techniques that might otherwise be lost to the 2nd and 3rd generations of immigrants in this neighborhood. So we're really hoping to go beyond just your standard neighborhood park to something that really is a treasure and a resource for our neighborhood, but also for the whole city.
Well, at best, ultimately, it would be a place not only where, say, Somali people can learn more about growing food that is familiar to them from Somalia that might otherwise be difficult to grow here, but a place where everybody here could trade the information and the food culture they have so that everybody in the neighborhood is enriched a bit by the knowledge that comes from all the corners of the world.
I think something centered around farming or food is kind of a cross-cultural thing that attracts a lot of different people that we don't always get to interact with, and so I kind of like that appeal that it brings, tighter knit communities to kind of interact and that's kind of a learning experience for us and our family, but it's also the people who we live around.
I used to call that the first forest.
Meet Lyric, an 11-year-old frogtowner. He lives in the heart of the neighborhood on the southeastern corner of the land that Patricia and Tony hope will become Frogtown Farms. The land is currently owned by the Wilder Foundation but has been vacated for several years now.
I know this place kind of like the back of my hand. It's like I know everything because I've been here since I was... Let me think. The first time I went here, I was like 5. Yeah. That seems reasonable. Yeah, I think that's a chipmunk. That's kind of their version to squirrels. But yeah, so it's pretty fun to play around in.
The organizers plan to leave most everything as it is. The only real development the land will need is the urban demonstration farm to encourage and show people how they can grow vegetables in their own yards. The goal is to grow culturally appropriate food for the diverse immigrant groups in Frogtown. The individual financial benefits aside, it would potentially increase the value of the neighborhood.
The American Gardening Association, for example, estimates that at bare minimum you can save $500 on your grocery bill if you grow your own vegetables and some fruits or whatever. So that's not a whole lot of money, but for a neighborhood like this one and in households that are in this neighborhood, that would be a significant chunk of change. So there's an economic benefit to individual families. Beyond that, green space is associated with increases in property values, and that's one of the problems that we've grappled with in this neighborhood for decades. The decades that we've lived here is that properties don't increase in value, and therefore the wealth of families doesn't increase. We're hoping that by situating a public park and a beautiful space in our neighborhood, we create a neighborhood where people want to stay and want to build value in their homes.
Everybody in the city is entitled to that proximity to something that's beautiful, and that simply is not here right now.
This green dream is still many steps away from fruition, but Frogtowners are beginning to recognize that their needs are being unmet and want to do something about it. Despite the many obstacles, there is great potential for social change. Frogtown Farms is a vision for a grassroots movement around cross-cultural interaction, agricultural justice, and establishing a democratic network of neighborhood members. It could be an innovative model for other multilingual, multicultural urban communities all over the world,